Supervisors, I'd like to call these June meetings to order. As always, we'll begin by pledging to our flag. We pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few housekeeping items I need to go over. Want to make everybody aware that we do video these meetings and they're posted on the website. I'd like to thank Nick for being here. He's by himself tonight. Usually he's coming by his buddy, Zach. Nick and Zach, Nick, you're going to be graduating this Friday from South High School.
Mm-hmm.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to congratulate you on that milestone.
Zach's graduating as well.
Yeah. So we appreciate your help. The items I need to go over, these meetings are being recorded by video. Secondly, the public has a right to record the meetings. They must announce the fact that they're doing so at the beginning of the meeting. Finally, anyone who wants to address the board, we ask you to come up and use the microphone. Okay? And give your name, full name, and address. I'd also like to acknowledge that Attorney Driscoll is here tonight on behalf of her firm, and in particular, Kim Buck, who usually is here. She's a worthy backup to Tim. Anyway, thank you for being here.
No problem.
Now, under item 3 on the agenda, we have a hearing on 2 ordinances. Sheriff Pendleton will not be here till about 7:30, so I'm going to put those down to just above item 7. So we'll have a public hearing on the ordinances, and then we'll decide whether we're going to enact them or not. Okay, follow that? Right. So moving along, approval of the minutes for our meeting held on May 18th. We always get a chance to look them over well in advance of this meeting. Anybody have any, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 18th.
I'll make
Bill, go ahead.
the motion that we approve the minutes from last month.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Item number 5, the treasurer's report for May of this year. We also have a copy of that in our packet. You got a chance to review it. I'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Also move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item is open public comment. This is a chance for you all to shine. Anybody want to say anything either on the agenda or something else you might want to address the board?
If I may, I did have a call from Doug Young, who's with Glen Rock Borough Council.
Yes.
And I placed him there, wasn't quite sure where else to put him. He wanted to address the board regarding their part.
Okay. Before he speaks, anybody else want to talk? Okay, Doug. Oh, the gentleman back, you have your hand up? He's not. Okay. Go ahead. Doug Young.
Hi.
We talked about the park project last month, I recall.
Did we?
Todd, did we?
I believe it was 2 months ago where we agreed to help them out with
Yes.
some paving.
Okay, all right.
My name is Doug Young. I'm with the Glen Rock Borough Council. And I'm here to introduce you to Project 2016. We have a joint committee right now with Glen Rock Recreation Board and the Glen Rock Borough Council, putting together a large effort to improve our park. If you go to page 2 of the slideshow, I'll walk us through this thing. You can see our major initiative here is to replace some equipment that's on the park that doesn't meet our standards, not our standards, but ADA standards, accessibility standards, safety standards. We also want to install some pathways throughout the park to make the park more accessible and construct a dog park also. Go to the next page, 3. 2016, we named it Project 2016 because it's the 40th anniversary of the park. In 1972, you know, Hurricane Agnes came through and pretty much wiped out Glen Rock for the most part. But that's when the community came together, formed the first recreation board, and brought the community together, and with the goal of opening a community park by 1976, the bicentennial. Hence, Project 76 was born then. Since then, the park has served people from all across York County and beyond, and it's time for some upgrades throughout the park. If we switch now to the next page, you'll see that our first initiative is to replace the large wooden play structure that resides in the park. You can see that picture on the left-hand side of your page, and as I mentioned, it just doesn't meet the standards of today. And on the right-hand side of that page is the first proposal we have. We have 2 proposals. This first one is from Liberty Parks and Playgrounds. If you flip the page, you'll see a rendering of the second proposal that we have. This is from George Ely and Associates, and this proposal has Playworld Systems, which is actually built in Lewisburg. So it's a system that's built in Pennsylvania. So the new equipment under all the proposals that we get meets the safety standards and ADA accessibility requirements of the law. Flip the page again. The next part of our project is to install ADA pathways that will connect major parts of the park. So you can see the pathways there that are kind of shaded. It's not an extensive array, but it brings the park from the parking lot to the major playgroups in the park there. You've already mentioned the parking lot, and we certainly appreciate the venture that we have for this year to pave the parking lot at the park. And that's a great segue to get us into now paving some pathways from that paved parking lot with handicap slots in it to the play structures and facilities in the parkway. So you can see some of the benefits there on the right-hand side of that. And if you flip the page now, you can see a large rendering of what would be a modern park. With this is actually from the second proposal that we have. But you can see the large playgroup there. And then in the background, there's a couple other improvements that are in part of this project 2016. On the background to the left, we would remove, there's 4 spring riders, these old spring riders that kids bounce back and forth on. We would replace that with a kind of a spinning thing that we think would be a lot more use, and it's ADA accessible. We'd also add a third swing set to it with a accessible swing there. And that's in the background on the right-hand side of the page. And then you also see the pathways that connect everything together. Flip the page now to the dog park. That's the third part of our project 2016. See again some of the benefits there on the left-hand side of the page. On the right is an engineering diagram of what our dog park looked like. It would sit on the south side of the Glen Rock Park. It would connect to our newly paved parking lot via ADA pathways. And there's 2 sections to the dog park. There's a small rectangular section that you see near the bottom. That's for smaller dogs. And then the odd-shaped section would be for larger dogs. The size...
That's good. How large is the park itself, the overall park?
Overall park, I think, is around 11 or 12 acres.
Yeah, and how How large is the dog park?
Be just under an acre.
Thank you.
It would be fenced, the dog park would be fenced. We'd have benches in there, have a drinking fountain that is ADA accessible, as well as a fountain for the dogs to have access to water. And it would have a double gate, so that you can make sure that dogs don't get out when they're not supposed to get out.
Who cleans up after the dogs? I'm curious. Who cleans up after the
Who
dogs?
cleans up after the dogs? Great question. We're gonna have waste stations there with bags. We're expecting the people that bring their dogs to clean up after their dogs. And judging from feedback that we've gotten from dog parks in other locations, people are pretty good once they're in a dog park with their dog about cleaning up after themselves. It does become a problem, we think, when you're not in a designated area like that. We have a baseball field up there that is mostly fenced in, that people kind of use a little bit to exercise their dogs, and they tend not to, because it doesn't have the facilities, they don't have waste stations set up for that purpose.
Thank you.
If we flip the page then, this is our road to success. We are applying for a DCED grant to make all this happen. Our approximate cost for this project is around $200,000, and it requires a 15% match, a cash match. But one of the reasons why I'm here is to get support from all the various communities around, so Shrewsbury Township certainly be part of that. If you flip the page, here now, what can you guys do to help us out? Any kind of support, if it's a letter of support, then that would be great. We plan to submit any kind of letter of support that we can get. We're getting letters of support from businesses, townships, boroughs, residents, things like that, to show the interest in this project to improve the park up there. In the past, we've partnered with Shrewsbury Township on various projects. We appreciate that. And if there's a way that we can do something, again, as a partnership in helping with this project, that would be great.
Is your dog park open to Shrewsbury Township dogs?
It's
They're open to everyone.
God, yeah, I'm asking you.
the park is open to anybody and everybody. And certainly the dog park would be open to Shrewsbury Township citizens.
I want that on the record. Our park's open to your residents, as you well know too, so, and that's the way it should be.
Absolutely. And as you know, we have Shrewsbury Township residents that live very, very close, right, almost on top of the park.
Right.
It seems as if they're in Glen Rock, but they're in Shrewsbury Township.
Our dogs are especially well behaved.
I
Sure,
appreciate that. It's good because they'll be able to set the example for the others, I suppose.
Exactly.
As we do.
Right.
As I was thinking through this, this is a very competitive grant, so I don't know if anybody knows somebody at DCED, but any kind of push up there to get this through would be helpful. I was also trying to think of a way that besides coming up here and saying, gee, a cash donation would be very helpful,
Yeah.
and, everybody's money is short. But if there's a way that maybe, there's a cost associated with taking out what's there already, for instance. So if, as a suggestion, the township maybe come on board with helping with removal of the existing equipment, that would be a cost savings and a great thing to put in a support letter.
Right.
I don't know though, we've got our own parks going full throttle. And I think I don't know about our maintenance staff, but I think they're gonna be pretty full tilt.
How soon do you want those items removed? I mean, what's your schedule for that?
Another good question. This grant, the application is due by the end of the month. And so we would need a letter by the end of the month to submit with the grant application.
Big stuff out right there.
The award wouldn't happen until the fall. This project is for next year. So
I'm gonna make a motion right now, just hang on here, that we approve the writing of a letter the township supporting the project. And you can work with our manager, Todd Ziegler, to make sure that it gets the right language, the right tone, whatever else you need. So I'll make that motion. We write a letter in support of the project.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Call for the,
On discussion, just gonna be a letter of support
Yeah.
at this point.
for the project.
Okay.
Yep.
I vote aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Are there any other
It's a letter of support to the, to DEP or DCED. And that's what it is, saying that we support the project.
Correct.
It doesn't say we're gonna provide financial help, within that letter, it says we support, you're giving them a grant for this project.
Right. I understand.
Right, Bill? Fair
Yeah.
enough?
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, we could probably mention too that we're upgrading all our parks as well, so it'd be nice to have a whole community, to have all their parks updated. Because that's what we're working on this
Yeah,
year.
we've launched a big project on our parks for
Cha-ching.
the next 2 years.
We received a grant. It's just the playground component of our parks.
Right.
Go ahead, Doug.
What grant did you receive?
Ours was through DCNR
DCNR grant.
and also small Marcellus Shale Act 13 grant through the county park, or through the county commissioners.
Okay, the DCED grant is also Act 13 money, so,
Okay.
yeah.
We should be able to get that.
Is there anything else you want to say, tell us, mention to us?
Just any other questions about our project, or?
Well, I think it's a good project. We're going to do basically the same thing. One reason we're doing it is to make sure we aren't liable if someone gets hurt because our equipment is so dated. Now, I think that I sense a general reluctance to commit to provide funds at this time. But I think the board might want to consider as available. We have a very good maintenance crew, and if they can help dismantle what's there within the schedule that they're on now, which is a very tight schedule, I think that's possible.
And again, we wouldn't be dismantling anything until next year,
Okay,
so next spring, springtime. And this is, assuming grant award, that kind of thing, so.
But I'm willing to leave it up to our manager who schedules all the employees, basically. And if there's available time.
Well, I think we need to see how it goes this year with our stuff. Aren't you, on the line for 30,000, is that what I saw?
Correct.
So that's all your municipality has to come up with, right? It's 30.
Well, that's the minimum cash match. We have other match that we've got through volunteer efforts. We have somebody building the benches, for instance, that are going to be in the dog park. So that's a match that doesn't go towards the minimum cash match for the grant, but it does show additional involvement and support.
Let's leave it like this.
I just wanted to say that, we're having to spend $150,000 of our taxpayers' dollars for our park upgrades, and then getting another $150 in grant money, so that's a lot of money to me of taxpayer dollars for parks.
It absolutely is, and you're specifically talking about the DCNR grant, which we looked at very heavily. The DCNR grant goes to $60,000 for a small community, which we qualify for. If you go above that, then it's a one-for-one match, dollar for dollar, like you just mentioned. And that, we just couldn't afford that,
Yeah.
and we needed above $60,000. And so DCNR, the Lori rep there said, you might look into the DCED grant, and we did, and it only has a 15% match requirement.
Much better.
So it allows us to get much more for our money if we can actually get it, but it is more competitive that way.
Right. Well, I just hope you do, because I don't know, we're spending a lot of money ourselves, so I don't know how.
Right, it's terribly expensive. as
Yeah,
you
I don't
know.
know how we're gonna spend any more.
And that's why I thought, our committee thought that we can show DCED how important it is to the entire surrounding area by giving letters of support and show support from those surrounding municipalities and things like that. So anything that can can be shown in those letters is much appreciated.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming out.
I think we should mention in our letter.
I was talking to-
Kinda.
If, when you schedule the removal of the existing equipment, you can call our manager and tell him how many hours you think it's gonna take. And then he will advise us, so we can make the decision.
Right.
Okay, is that okay, Sue?
I think it should be a board decision.
That's what I said.
At that time.
Yeah.
And that's fine, and I don't mind, certainly happy to come back next year and
Yeah,
we'll
next
talk
year.
about that.
Yeah.
And if possible, that letter can state that that's a possibility, that we're gonna work together on that. Without full commitment, that's fine too.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know how we're gonna do all this.
Right, I understand that, I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming, thank you, and good luck with your project. All right. Okay, now we're gonna move ahead. Anybody else have any comment to make at this time? All right, we have moved down our 2 public hearings to this point in time, so I'm going to suspend the regular monthly meeting, and we're going to proceed to a public, the hearings on the zoning amendments and on another amendment, as you can see on your agenda. So I'm going to turn it over to Todd. If you would give a brief, concise overview as to what the zoning amendments involve. And following his, if there are any questions about what he's saying, and we'll have that, and then finally we'll go into the actual approval or non-approval.
Did everyone pick up a green sheet? As Chairman stated, we're required to have a public hearing before we consider adoption of this ordinance. If you recall, we held a public hearing on February 4th. That was pretty well attended at that time. I think we may have had 40, 50 people. We went back, made some additional revisions. We had a second hearing. Not nearly as many people attended. That one was on April 29th. And that seemed to have gone fairly well. And we're now at the point where it went to York County Planning Commission the second time. They recommended approval of the last revisions that we've made. And we're now at the point now where it's been publicly advertised. It's been available. I'm not going to go through this entire document. Hopefully anyone who's interested had the opportunity to look at it. It was on the township's website. It was also advertised. It was available for public inspection in the township office. We did not have any visitors come into the office, so I don't know if anyone looked at it online or not. But what I put together on this screen sheet is just a really brief and broad synopsis of each of the articles. If we go through each and every item again as we had before, we would be here until midnight easily. So I'm just basically going to go down this sheet, and if anyone has any questions, I can go to that particular section and we can talk about that. But table of contents is basically housekeeping item to address the multiple changes that were made throughout the ordinance. When you get into Article 2, there were various amendments. We added some definitions, we deleted a couple, and I listed those, some of them, such as beverage distribution and sale, that's a new one. Critical environmental areas, that's an amendment. No impact home-based businesses, the definition of a parcel, recreation lodge, special event, winery, and so forth. Article 3, that talks about the different designations of the various zoning districts that we had, so we simply had to add the new overlay district, which is the historic village overlay, referred to as the HVO. The agricultural district, the significant changes there were use regulations, which talks about uses by right, special exception, and so forth. clarification on development rates and dimensional requirements. Article 6, 7, they were basically the same thing, which was amending the use regulations, which again is the types of uses that you can have by right or special exception or variance. Article 8, again, use regulations, some dimensional regulations, and open space requirements. And those same items were addressed under Article 9 as well. Article 10, Article 11, and Article 12, again, was amending the use regulations, which gave us back to uses by right, special exception, and so forth. And in most cases, it was adding some of those uses or deleting some of them or moving them to another zone. Article 13, we revised and fine-tuned what the intent of the critical environmental area is, also known as the CEA, the riparian buffer areas, calculations of the buffers, and protection of the wellheads. Article 14, which is the supplementary regulations, which are a particular use. It's regulations that are in addition to those that fall into that particular zone. And I listed there, I won't go through and read all of those, but they're the major ones that we addressed. There's a couple other little minor editing issues that we addressed in some of the other regs, but these are the ones that had major, but I'll call them most major revisions. And some of those are new as well, like village shops, winery, mobile home park. They're all new supplementary regulations that we did not have before. Then when you get into the general performance standards, there are regulations that apply across all zones, and in that we talked about height regulations, setback regulations, and then we addressed and fine-tuned and clarified the fences, walls, and berms. Article 16 deals with off-street parking and loading. That particular article, we made some minor revisions to the commercial and the residential parking space requirements and the landscaping requirements. Article 18, which is administration, we added a section regarding permits. Article 19 addresses the zoning hearing board. We just deleted a reference in there to the subdivision and land development ordinance. Under Article 20, under amendments, we added a section for fees. The Historic Village Overlay District, that is a new district on top of the existing district in the Seitzland Village area. And that included a map of that area. And then Appendix A is again a housekeeping item. That's a list of all the different uses, and then under each zone, it's kind of a quick snapshot. Tells you what's permitted in each of those zones. We just amended that to reflect what changes took place in the previous articles. And then the diagram, Appendix C, which is diagrams in certain zoning terms. That deals mainly with the setbacks and shows the diagrams, what's the front street, side street, rear street, and what those setbacks are. So as I said, we had the hearing in February, we had the one in April. The biggest change was in the agricultural, where it was proposed to eliminate the subdivision of 50 acres, minimum of 50 acres. That's been put back in. So really the agricultural zone is very few changes from what's been previous and it is currently in place. Did anyone have any questions specific to any of these articles? Hope everyone had the opportunity to look through it and attend those hearings.
Thank you, Todd. That was very, very helpful. Now, if there are no questions, then comments, concerns, and that sort of thing will be the final feature of the hearing. Seeing no hands come up, we'll close the public hearing and move on with the regular meeting. So the next line following this hearing would be for the board to consider enacting
the changes to the zoning ordinance. I want to take a motion to approve them or not, whatever. I'll make the motion to approve the zoning amendments.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
I vote aye.
No,
Aye.
Aye.
The next item, and this is, I'm gonna have to suspend the regular meeting again. There's another ordinance that's pending. It's a very short ordinance, number 215-04, dealing with animals. Todd, I'll turn it over to you again.
Yeah, in our current ordinance, we have a section in our code book dealing specifically with animals. And all we are doing is amending the definition of a small animal. In Article 2, regarding animals, it talks about fowl, chickens, and so forth. And that's in conflict with our zoning ordinance because our zoning ordinance addresses that as well. So we're just cleaning up this section of our code book so that it's not a conflict with our zoning ordinance. It was discussed and authorized for advertisement at last month's meeting. So we're at a point where if the board is still comfortable with that, they can act on that.
Any questions or opinions, comments on this change? All right. Seeing no hands or interest apparently. Shouldn't say that. Seeing no hands going up, I'll again call the hearing over, and we'll go back to our regular meeting where we're going to entertain an enactment or a motion to enact the Chapter 2 as indicated.
So moved.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion from the board, or any discussion from the board? I'll call for the vote.
Vote aye.
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 Under ordinances and resolutions, there's a resolution which we discussed at our last meeting. That is rename Diller Road to establish Church Road. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Todd, do you want to forward again? Maybe for
Excuse me. We had a request. Is everyone familiar with where Della Road is in Sadler's Church Road, 851 between Shrewsbury and Stewartstown? Della Road is in Shrewsbury Township, which is just this little short piece here. The stream that you see here is the dividing line between Shrewsbury Township and then Hopewell Township is on this side. So this is Della Road down to this point, and then this is Sadler's Church Road heading northeast. We had a request actually from the church in Hopewell Township to consider renaming Sadler's Church Road because of ease of finding the church. And I did a little research, and I did verify that we have no real estate or no properties with a Della Road address, so we won't affect anyone's address. And I did talk to this particular farmer, and I know that they were in favor of that being renamed as well, again for ease of finding Sadler's Church Road. And I don't know how they ever came up with Della Road, but
Delaware used to have a building right there in the middle.
okay.
This is an excavating business.
Okay. There's usually history behind the street names. So that's the short history behind it.
So I'll make the motion to rename that road.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Next item, under subdivision and land development. Todd, you want to give us a brief overview of items 1 and 2 under that title?
Yeah. Both of these plans have been previously approved by the board. When they're approved, oftentimes they have conditions attached to them. Some of them are board decisions, or quite often they have to do with permits, approvals, and so forth that they need from other state or federal agencies. The first one is Prince Auto Body, which is just down the road here in the corner of the trail on Commerce Drive. This is for a land development plan. It's been on the books probably a good year and a half. And their holdup is getting their approval from DEP for their stormwater plan. My understanding is from the engineer, they are very close to getting that accomplished. So every 3 months, we need to come back to the board to get the plan reapproved. And the reason being is when we record a plan at the Recorder of Deeds office, the date that the board approved, the plan has to be within 3 months that you record that plan and that approval date. So if I go in there with a 4 or 5 month old date, they will not record the plan. So for that reason, that's why you may hear that we come back every so often to have the plan reapproved.
Are you gonna charge them?
No. The Tawna Road venture is the same situation. Again, that plan was previously approved by the Board of Supervisors. And again, they're waiting on a couple of things. They have some, I believe their biggest item right now is the MPDS, again, the stormwater permit. Do you have that?
We need you to approve the fire hydrant.
Okay. That's later.
It's on your agenda, yeah.
Yeah.
We
have that later.
We've been working with your recorder to get the water all resolved, and that's the last part of what they need. And we have a pre-construction meeting there tomorrow with soil conservation and everybody. So we're good to go as soon as we have the fire hydrant approved.
Did Megan get the MPDS permit?
I'll follow up and make sure she did.
Yeah, I don't think she did.
I actually called Keith and scheduled for a pre-construction meeting, so I'll
Check on that one.
Okay.
But regardless, whether it's that and or the hydrant, the plan expired yesterday. So if the board's comfortable with extending the approval of those for another up to 3 months, you can just do that one motion for those.
Exactly. We'll entertain a motion to approve those two
So moved.
petitions. I'll second it. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Under reports, manager Todd Ziegler.
Just a couple of things. If you recall last month, the board authorized me to make, when I say last month, that our meeting was only about 2 weeks ago, so our May meeting authorized me to submit a letter to your county commissioners in regard to the construction of a train station shelter in Seitzland, which if the funds are received in the amount of $6,300, the construction will actually be done by a local business owner who is Dave Keller, who happens to be here in the audience. I did submit that letter of request to the county commissioners, and even though we've already met with the commissioners, they want us to come in and do a formal request. So we'll be doing that on June 15th. And I would anticipate that at that meeting, we'll find out what that decision is at that time. The only other thing is, just to make you aware, and I think most people have probably traveled over Boyer Road, we had a partial collapse of a pipe there several weeks ago, and we had to get an emergency permit from Army Corps of Engineers, and we did receive that permit, and the work has been completed by Township Road.
Where was that called? That road's about a mile long. Where was it called?
It's right after Trippy's.
Yeah, between
It's
Trippy and Country
it's where
Club.
Trippy's rental,
There's spring.
There's spring comes up.
Yeah.
it was completely gone, there's a big hole in
And the only other thing I do want to mention is I did receive a phone call from North Hopewell Township. They're going to be doing some work on Potosi Road in North Hopewell Township, and they're going to be placing some road closed signs probably in July. They haven't finalized that yet, but they'll be placing a sign at the intersection of Potosi and Sawmill, just so you're aware of if you get any calls. The work's actually being done in North Hopewell, not Shrewsbury Township. And that's all I have, unless you have some questions for me.
I have a question. Regarding the YMCA and the daycare center, they have replaced trees that have died, and these are street trees. I thought their letter said by the end of September that they would replace these trees.
No, when we discussed it last month, it was
It was
mid-October.
mid-October? Okay, so it's still the same, all right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions, thoughts, or anything? All right. The next item, Todd, you'll handle this, of course, is the Sykeston Sanitary Store. This is phase 3.
Yeah, this is phase 3, which has 15 or 16 customers. By Friday, they're hoping that they have all the restoration work completed. And we've also requested they submit their final application for payment, so the engineer and I can begin to pull together all the costs and calculate what the tapping and connection fees will be. And I am proposing to the board that we schedule now a July 8th meeting with the residents of Sykeston so that we can review what those fees and tapping fees will be. And that's our second advertised meeting of the
Second
month.
Wednesday.
And then from there, if everything goes well, because it's an advertised meeting, I'm hoping that the board would authorize an ordinance to be advertised so that we could adopt it in August, which would set the fees as well as mandate the connection. And then on August 6th, we would send out the connection notice to the property owners. They would have until November 6th in which to make their connections, but we would begin billing the first quarterly bill October 1st.
Can you make sure you send all of us a very detailed list of all the fees?
It'll be just as you had from Holly's last time.
Yeah, I
Which
know.
outlines everything.
Well, it has to be a little better than that, because of the last debacle. So I'd like a really detailed explanation
It'll be
of all.
what we've had in the past here. Shows each,
I understand,
Right.
I want to know, I want to see the receipts and stuff, because after last
you know, if
time.
you want, you're
I don't know about the receipts, but I want
I'd
to
say
see an
you're welcome.
itemized accounting
You're
of
welcome to
those.
come in and see them, but it'll be that spreadsheet that we've seen numerous times, so,
And that's fine.
yeah.
Any of the board have any questions or what you just wanted?
Yeah, I don't really need a motion, but if there's a
No, but I'll-
consensus with the July 8th date.
No, that's fine.
Meeting here, here, same time-ish.
7 o'clock.
Um,
And that's all I have to report on Sykeston. If you have any questions.
I'll just give a quick overview here. This is the fourth and final project mandated by the state regarding areas in the township which have malfunctioning septic systems. And hopefully we won't have any more in the future. All right, moving on. Attorney Driscoll, do you want to report in under the
The 2 items on my report are 2 ordinances that you've already adopted. So those are the only things on my agenda this month, if there's any questions or concerns.
Okay. You have no questions of us in regard to how we handle that or anything else? Okay. All right, thank you. You have a report in your package regarding the zoning officer, code enforcement, and sewage enforcement, all conducted by the same officer. Maintenance report is in your packet, engineer's report is in your packet, and the flag commission report is in your packet. Catch up myself a little bit. Any questions about anything on those reports? Todd will be able to help us with them. I'm okay with everything. All right. You have the planning commission's agenda or minutes in your packet. Any questions regarding that? Okay. Moving on. Supervisor comments.
I'd like to make a suggestion that we make available to the 3 candidates, and I think Tricia was right in, if they want a copy of our packet before each meeting, it's available up here at the office so they can start following along now. We did that in the past.
Todd and I already discussed that, and he's agreeable to join that. It'll be available here. The board gets this packet Wednesday around noon. Start Friday around noon, Friday before the meeting date, which is a Wednesday. So the packet will be available as early as the noon on Friday before our meeting, which is Wednesday.
Will you close what time on Friday?
They're usually ready by the 10.
So you close that
Come
then?
in before noon. And
Or Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
here's the thing too. There are certain items in our packet which have not been approved. Do you want to explain that, Todd?
Yeah, there are certain things, there's not a lot, but there are some things that may not be available for public inspection under the right to know law until it's been approved or reviewed by the board. A majority of the information would be available, so.
So those passes will be available from up to what Wednesday?
Until 4
up to
o'clock.
noon on Friday, and then from up to 4 o'clock on Monday and Tuesday, and up till noon, that's say on Wednesday. Or any time.
Up to 4.
Up to 4 on Wednesday, right, okay. Now, can they take them out of the office? How do I manage
They
this?
always have,
What?
they always have.
I thought typically we didn't do it till after the November election.
No, we always did it for the candidates, and then,
No, I think that Jeff's right, but I think we should change that policy. I think they should have it starting next month, if they choose to come in and.
if they wanna have it, some may not wanna have it.
I don't understand that. But it will be available. And you can call ahead of time if you have any questions.
And if you don't mind if I weigh in there, with regard to the solicitor's report specifically, it does not always, but sometimes contain sensitive attorney-client privileged information. So I would suggest that probably should not be included.
That's okay.
Todd will include the entire agenda. For those few items that we can't give information out at that time, he'll have a statement to that effect.
Sure.
Anybody else on the board have any comments? I have a minute and a half presentation. I was previously over to England this spring, this past spring. And I wanted to report on what I saw, and to make a comparison between how we do things over here and how they do things there. There's no sprawl in England. Every farm is intact, it seems. The only development that occurs is within a developed community, a village or a city or adjacent there too. I visited York City, which is very unlike our city. It's very modern, yet it's very historic as well. And all the land around York City is maintained as farmland. There's no sprawl. It's unlike our own situation here in our county. The roads are all, we saw 3 potholes, which are about 1,000 miles. They either have higher standards for the roads or they put more money into them, I'm not sure, or both. There's virtually, from what I can see in the rural areas at least, no litter. They do a lot of smoking in England, so there's a few cigarette butts, but that's all. You don't see any litter along the roads. People were very friendly, and because there's very little runoff from urban areas, at least in the rural areas, where there's very little pavement, all the streams are bank full. They're up to the top of the bank. They aren't sunken down or in size. So this is one report. At any rate, anybody else have anything? I'm just throwing that out just to show comparison. It's a cultural thing, I think. All right, for what it's worth. Okay, moving along. Old business. Park improvements. Todd.
Okay. As you recall, we have 3 projects, park projects. One is Windy Hill Park, the other is Winchester Park. The total cost for those 2 park upgrades is $240,000. We received 50% of that in funding from DCNR, $120,000 is matching grant. Those funds are available through December of 2017. The other funding was a $30,000 matching grant for a total project of $60,000 for improvements to Haintown Park. And that is through the Act 13 Marcellus Shale funds, which we received from the York County Commissioners. Those funds were awarded last year in 2015. We didn't get the project out for bid. They carried those funds over to 2014, we didn't get completed. We asked them to carry it over to 2015, which they did. We put it out for bid. We bid all 3 projects together. There were 4 bidders that picked up packets. Unfortunately, there was only 1 contractor that submitted a bid. Our total budget for all 3 projects is $300,000. And we have a landscape architect who works with these parks all the time. So they're good, solid budget numbers. We had one bidder that came in, and their bid was a little over $500,000. Now, talking to our consultant, again, she does projects throughout eastern Pennsylvania. She said that she was fearful of this because she's been seeing more and more that contractors are busy, which is a good thing for the economy. However, they're busy enough that they don't need a lot of work, particularly a smaller project. So we talked about where we go from here. For us to get a better price, we'd like to try to keep all three projects bid together. So we're okay with holding off until next year to bid Windy Hill and Winchester. We'd like to do that with Hangtown Park as well, and I last week submitted a request to the county commissioners asking if they'll carry this over one additional year. I need to talk to Chuck Knoll, who will not be in the office until next week. So I anticipate that we may have that conversation on the 15th when I go before the commissioners for this other grant. So I don't really have any real direction for the board at this point in time. I will when we meet in July, but our recommendation and my recommendation is that if the county is willing to carry these funds over into 2016, that we table this project for this year and put it out for bid very early next year, you know, even as early as February, because then we'd have bids back in March. So that's where we're at right now. But what the board does need to do is formally by motion and vote is to reject this one single bid.
Right, start there. I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to reject the bid.
I'll say.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And now secondly, you want anything else from us on this?
No, not at this point. I'll have, once I know what's going to happen with the county commissioners, I'll have some in July.
Thank you, Going to new business, park management. I put a letter, you received a letter rather, from the office, which I've written. I'll kind of go over it as quickly as I can. I want to start by saying this. Ms. Thompson is very fortunate. In fact, we have 4 major parks for both our residents as well as the residents of the surrounding communities. And some communities probably have no parks, and virtually all of our parks came that really, they were given to us, or the land was given to us, or there was a grant received to buy the park and also to develop it. So even though it may seem like when you have 40-some acres in parks, you spend a lot of money, we really haven't. We planted over 1,500 trees and shrubs, native in our parks the last 4 years. You know, that may sound like a lot of money, but we spend about $1.50 per tree or shrub. And they're bare root and they're between 18 and 24 inches in height normally. So, and our crew puts them in, so there's very little cost to the township. But some of them are already like 12 and 15 feet tall. And I think we should take pride in our parks and make sure that they're well managed and attractive. There are communities in this country that have very good parks, and it attracts people to that area, to the community, and it increases the value of properties too, by the way. So anyway, so we want to have these parks and maintain them as well as we can. So this year has been very difficult, this spring has been very difficult because we've had a lot of projects for our maintenance staff, and we're a little behind in a few items, in a few areas. So I'm suggesting to the board that Todd be appointed as Parks and Landscape Advisor, and since he has some control over the staff, has complete control over the staff, he also has control over the projects. Now, I'm happy to report, if you look at the township grounds, too, Todd did a wonderful job in enhancing it, and our parks should look the same. If we, and so,
Haven't you been kind of spearheading this thing
I
over
have.
these years?
I have all the years.
What's wrong, you're tired or what?
I'm not tired. I am old, but I'm not tired, okay?
Okay, well, I mean, I think you've been doing a great job, I don't think we need to hand it over to anybody else in particular, I think you just need to, keep the maintenance staff aware of what needs to be done, and they've usually handled it pretty good, I thought.
Todd, I could go to the maintenance staff, and I have in this big course many times, a number of times, and I said, we need to do this, do that, but they're working on projects other than just the parks, they spend most of their time on
Mike
roads and
McLean
stuff.
knows exactly what he's supposed
I
to
know,
do.
so, when I go to Mike, he's already been involved in all these other things, and he doesn't have the staff to give to the parks. Now, Todd can direct that, he can say, no, Mike, you're gonna spend some time on the parks.
If Mike doesn't have the time, he doesn't have the time.
Part of Todd's responsibility, he has the day-to-day control over the staff, and so forth and so on. So I'll let you give him a chance. And I have in here attention to detail, acceptable standards, whatever it takes. But our park should be a source of great pride to us, and I think Todd can do the job. I really do. I mentioned here that right now you have 2 interns working for the township, right? Is that,
Well, one's an intern, the other one was, if you remember, we budgeted for the summer laborer,
Okay.
who's been doing it out front of the building, and he's gonna be actually started this afternoon at Miller Park.
okay, well, there's a lot of weeding that needs to be done
Yeah.
on the park.
Yeah, I'll keep him busy.
Now, I have in here about hiring part-time help or something to that effect.
Sounds like we already have.
Okay, I mean, the interns, if they can do the job, that's the most cost-effective way to do it. And the other thing was, I mentioned to have an arborist we could call from time to time when we have questions and issues. Because sometimes when we're doing a project, it needs some extra specialized help, I should say.
I thought you knew pretty much about the trees, that it
Well,
was gonna cost us money. I mean, I don't know what they charge an hour, but, I don't know.
Well,
Keep spending money. Sorry.
we spend very little on our parks. We have a budget of $5,000 for landscaping for all these parks. And we usually spend half of it, right, Todd? About half of it a year.
Usually about a quarter of it.
Quarter of it, okay. So we've been doing very well.
So you still have enough in your budget, and if you have to call an arborist on a couple-hour conversation, it's
Yeah.
not gonna be $1 million, so you don't need to increase your budget, right?
Well,
Well,
maybe we will, but right now, we'll try it your way. But like, we're gonna be putting in some large trees in the islands in Miller Park. And when you put a tree in, it's very careful, you have to be very careful how you do it. It's a technique that has to be done very carefully, or else you're gonna lose the tree, it's gonna die eventually.
Well, maybe you could hire the people who are buying the tree from to plant it with a guarantee or something.
That's very expensive.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna put in big trees like that, I guess it's what you're gonna do.
In the islands, it's in the islands. Anyway, so if we need to have an arborist advise us, we come in for an hour and make sure it's done right, we do that. So anyway, anybody else have any questions? I'll turn it over to, what do you all think?
I'm okay with it,
I mean, you know,
if you're okay with it.
I mean, the people out there, Ann or you or
Can't you just call up an arborist? I mean, it's not like you have to, I don't mean to sound snide, but it's not like we have to keep one on retainer or something, right? It's just,
Yeah,
if you had an issue, we develop some sort of relationship, and you just call them up and say, hey,
Right.
we need your input on this.
or have them come down like in the spring or the fall one time for an hour and walk around and make suggestions.
If you're talking about 40 acres, it's gonna be more than an hour walking.
These arborists, they can walk real fast. You know, okay, well,
Yeah, but you gotta transport to 3 different areas.
no, okay, to come down for a day or half a day, but we're also talking about this facility here, which has landscaping, and also the maintenance facility.
Right, so you need travel time.
Yes, right.
I
Well-
have no idea how an arborist charges, you know?
Me neither.
It's probably more than we'd like. Yeah, I figure maybe,
Generally true, but I guess the question, one of the first questions is it by project that they charge, or is it an hourly rate? You know,
Well,
the first step is to do a little inquiry and say, you know, what's your fee
yeah, what to
structure?
do that. But first we have to find out who are acceptable, who are the best, most competent arborists, and then find out about the prices.
In our situation, I'm sure it would be an hourly rate for what we would want them for. And you're probably looking at once a year, unless you have some issues.
Yeah.
So,
And also,
I don't think either would be more than a day,
I agree.
if even that.
Our parks are, you know, they're not a big investment, but they're really important to the people of the township and surrounding communities, and we need to take some interest in them. We haven't done a lot of that in the past. We just kind of, well, I think we need to do a little bit better job. And that, by that I mean we need to have people able, when you want something, when something needs done, we do it. We don't put it off like we have this spring. All right.
Is there anybody we could, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Go ahead, Ann.
Is there anybody like through Penn State Extension Agency or something that we can find and tap that way as opposed to?
They have staff that do park or horticultural projects and all, but they may come down once in a while, but you can't rely on them to come down regularly because that's just, they don't have the time for that, I would
But
say.
you're not asking for regularly, right? You're asking for like once a year. Is that what
So
time you said?
that's an option. Okay, and also I want to add this, Todd mentioned earlier about the bids for the park projects, and if you understand, they're for the playgrounds within the parks. They're limited to that, and also some landscaping adjacent to the playgrounds. But our playgrounds have been in place for a long time, and some of them don't meet
Handicap accessibility is a big part
requirements
of
and so on. And our playgrounds are used a lot, as I follow it. So it's something that is going to be used. Okay, I'm just talking about landscaping here today. Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, well, I'm going to call for a motion and a vote to appoint Todd as our Parks Landscape Advisor. Also, what's one thing, we talked about sending some of our staff to seminars and all to let them get more information on parks and how to manage trees and all. And instead of that, we got a hold of it for $29.95. We got a hold of a series of presentations on a DVD, 2x2 DVD disc, covering everything like parks, landscaping, trees, and so forth. And Todd's agreed to have sessions, maybe an hour a week for a period of time, and review these tapes with the staff that's going to be involved with our parks. I think that'll be a big help too.
If I could just
Please.
mention, I mean, you can make whatever motion and give whatever titles you want to give me. I won't turn them down, but I think maybe the motion, just if you want to state that position will be absorbed by the day-to-day operations of the township
That's fine.
staff or something to that effect would be sufficient.
Okay.
That's
That'd
okay.
be the motion. I'll make a motion that, in addition to Todd's existing duties, that we add this duty to that list.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? I'll call for the vote.
I'll vote aye.
No,
Fine.
Aye.
Thank you. That's one other thing.
Oh, we're gonna sit down, Todd and I are gonna sit down, we're gonna put a calendar together for the whole year, month by month, starting in January, what needs to be done in our parks. And then Todd, as part of your report each month, you can report on what the status of the parks are, what is being done. Okay? All right, thank you. Next item is the contracts, contract number 5 and number 2 for Syphon Sewer Phase 3. Todd?
Yeah, you have, and again, if you want to do this both of these in one motion, that's fine. But we have 2 of our community development block grant contracts that we need to do an mandatory contract, which is an extension of time for both of them. The first one is the 2013 grant, which, if you recall, was originally the amount of $100,000, and then I believe it was last month they shifted some of those funds to the earlier years, 06, 07, 08. So the remaining balance of about $11,000, I believe it is in this one. So it's just a formality administrative process. They're required every 6 months to renew those. And this should be the last time that we need to do that, since we're wrapping the project up here in the next month.
Is there a motion to approve these contracts?
I'll make the motion.
Sue made a motion, I'll second it. Any discussion? We'll call for the vote.
Vote aye.
Aye. Item number D, under 12,
Yeah,
installation of 1 new fire hydrant on
Yeah.
Toll Road.
and this is right here in this area. Here you have Mount Airy, here you have Tawana, Walmart's over in this area. Down this way is Windy Hill Road. This is the 5-lot subdivision that we're actually going through, actually has been approved with conditions. And part of that was to extend public water to these 5 parcels. So the developer is working with York Water. They just need formal approval from the Board of Supervisors to add that hydrant to the system.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Item number E, under new business, trash waiver request. And this, have you talked, would you describe the request?
Yeah, we had a request for property on Fair School Road for a trash waiver, and it's our understanding that the property is vacant, and it's now in the hands of the estate of that property owner. And as you know, in order for Penn Waste to waive trash charges on any particular property for a period of time, it needs to be approved by the board.
She doesn't say it's vacant, she just says that the owner, the person who lived there is deceased.
Wendy, if I remember, did you talk to this individual? No. Okay. Then it was Megan or April, and our understanding was the property is vacant. I can verify that if you want to make the motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that,
Contingent upon us verifying that it is definitely vacant.
I'll make the motion, we grant the variance or the exemption, subject to confirmation that the project is vacant and that the person involved with the property will notify us the moment it is not vacant. That's the motion.
I'll second it.
Is there a second?
You just did.
Okay. I made a motion. Yeah, thank you.
Vote aye.
I need to go. Drink some more water. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That was a big help. I don't know what I'm gonna do without you. I'll survive. You're damn right I'll survive. I may do better.
You probably will.
Okay, yeah. All right, the next item is septic agreement on Stelz Road. Todd, you wanna give us an overview of that?
Take one of these. You have in your packet a proposed agreement, and we've done these in the past for a property that's for sale and has a failing septic system, but the seller, and in most cases it's a bank because of a foreclosure, isn't willing to put the money into installing or repairing the septic system. So we've entered into agreements with the person that's purchasing the property where they guarantee that they will not move into the premises until they've had their septic system repaired or replaced and it's been approved by our sewage enforcement officer. This is a similar case, but it is a little different. And I gave the board a red line copy of changes from what's in your packet. And these are recommended by Keith, the sewage enforcement officer. Because in this particular case, the property, what they're proposing to do is to convert the septic tank into a holding tank until they get their proper permits, because they need some approvals from DEP and so forth. So what this spells out is that they agree that they would convert it into a holding tank before they occupy it, but the new system has to be installed within 6 months from the date of settlement.
Can we assume that the holding tank will hold 6 months of waste?
Well, they have to have it pumped periodically.
Okay, but they're agreeable to do that.
Yes, Keith has already talked about
That's
that.
fine.
And what you have before you is recommended to the board by the sewage enforcement officer.
Well, Keith and Brooke moved. They're not even gonna reside there.
But they're the sellers, right?
Correct.
Right.
But I mean, I don't think that the buyers, from what I understand, are gonna be using that place until they do whatever they're
Well,
gonna
they
do.
had a conversation with Keith, and the realtor called me.
I mean, I think they just want a guarantee, but I mean, maybe somebody's gonna live there, but I
Well,
don't know. I don't think so.
We're covered here. I think this is a good way to handle it.
It was a request we received. none of
Yeah,
us.
the buyers are the ones who are selling this, or excuse me, signing this.
The buyers,
Right,
right,
that's correct.
yeah.
So they agree to that. At
Because
least,
the sellers, yeah, the sellers have got much history.
that's,
I mean, they're down the road already.
all right, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve this agreement.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion by the board? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
That's a good solution, all right. Correspondence, we have a little bit in our packet, the PSAS resolutions. PSAS is a state organization of second-class township, second-class townships. They meet annually, they have resolutions to the legislature about things they think need to be done. We have that in our packet. And finally, closing public comments. Anybody have anything to say? And, yeah, please, would you? You have to identify yourself.
Ann Weiser, Josie Road Freedom. I just wanted to comment, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I just wanted to comment, I was really disheartened on election day with the signage that appeared at the township building and the fact that 3 of you saw this nonsense in front of the building and nobody was willing to step up and do anything about it. You know, I spoke with 3 of you, I spoke with Todd, I spoke with Keith Cunnings, Mr. Coyle got there, and, you know, he made it a loud and boisterous comment about essentially that you all were a laughing stock, and that wasn't his words by any stretch, but, you know, he said, yeah, Keith called me, and he told me no big deal, ha ha, wink, wink, nod, nod, kind of nonsense. And I guess, you know, it's really sad for me to see that, A, we make rules, regulations, laws, whatever, and don't enforce them. And I get it, you can't be everywhere all the time enforcing every last thing. But when it's in the face of so many of you, and we still just kind of turn a blind eye, my question is, why do you even have it? If we're not gonna enforce it, why have it on the books?
The sign ordinance has a lot of issues.
And
It needs to be amended or dissolved.
And I got this nonsense from Keith Cunnings about, oh, well, I have to give a 10-day written notice.
That's not
and
what
blah,
the
blah,
words,
blah.
that's not
And
the
I've
words.
gone through this whole thing. The only thing
Does
that I
not say
find that
that.
has any kind of time limit is if a sign is a problem, it needs to come down in they need to send notice and it has to, they need to send 5 days notice.
That's on an old sign that
Right,
needs to be.
something that's dilapidated that
that's-
needs to be removed, right. So I see nothing about this, so it's frustrating when you're trying to play by the rules as a citizen anywhere in the township, and nobody hears you, and that's one of the things that I've been hearing for years, quite frankly, is that the board doesn't hear the citizens, and here's just one more example. So,
Well, and the board does hear its citizens. This is one situation where you can make a case. You aren't happy with it, but we do enforce our ordinances. We have many ordinances and zoning and subdivision ordinances and all the other ordinances. And
this makes it look like selective enforcement.
Selective enforcement is
You know, I mean,
popular.
I don't mean to beat you up, and like I said, I'm sure you've got a lot bigger fish to fry
we
going
get
on
beat
in
up
the
all the time.
township.
Don't feel bad.
But when, you know, so many of you are involved, and this is so in the face of so many of you,
May I address that, please?
Say it after
But we did hear you. I did speak to you. I know you spoke to Keith. Something you need to keep in mind, I believe, is with the sign ordinance, as with any ordinance, if someone's in violation, at times we will make a phone call hoping someone that will voluntarily comply with what the ordinance says. Keith made those phone calls.
and clearly they weren't taking
Well,
seriously. And I had no idea, it was a part of the
Keith,
conversation, I
you
had no
can't hold
idea
Keith
what it was.
responsible if someone doesn't take them serious, you know? Because he's made phone calls to other people beyond signs.
But if they,
Um,
but by the same token, if you see that 3 of the township supervisors see what you're doing, and they're not saying anything to you, why listen to Keith?
Well, and I guess where I want to come from the administrative side of it is, as with any ordinance, if someone's in violation, we can't just go out there and correct it ourselves. We give notice, and that's what Keith was talking about.
Well, no, you've done, no.
That's
That's not true, because on the sign ordinance, it's a standalone ordinance, and you have enforced the sign ordinance
Sue.
without
So
anything.
you're out of order.
No, I'm not.
You can
That's
have
the
your say,
truth.
let Todd finish what he's saying.
And that, Sue is absolutely correct. We have. And if you look in section 19-102, under paragraph 7, the township can remove signs immediately without giving any notice, only if they're in a road right-of-way. If they're not in a road right-of-way, we have no authority to take them from anyone for any reason. Now, the truck was parked on township property. However, the sign was mounted on a truck. And had the township gone out, well, sitting on the truck. Nonetheless, the sign was sitting, propped whatever, on someone's personal truck, which is their private property. Granted, the truck was on township property. We don't believe we had the authority to go on someone's private property and remove the signs. Now, had they had that sign in the township front lawn, it's the township's property, I believe we would have the authority to go out and take it.
So what do you count the tent on that, you don't count that township property because it was at the church? So the
Yeah,
other voting
that's-
station, I mean, I don't know, that, it just seems like it could have been handled much more maturely.
And
You
here,
know, if a board member, someone had, with some position, some status, had gone to those people and just said, look, you know, this is really stretching the limits here of what's allowed, you know.
Well,
maybe you
I
should get
do know-
serious. And it was all head in the sand.
I do know that our zoning officer did make phone calls that morning.
and there is one thing about political signs, that it is treated a little bit differently, because it is people's freedom of speech. And there have been case laws, and there could be case laws, where you may not be able to tell people what they're gonna be doing and not doing with their signs, and where they're gonna put them, whether in their right of way or not in the right of way. And how long they can be up, and other items. So those political signs are treated a little differently, or could be, than a normal sign. So there is a little difference there.
Because,
Not that I'm justifying anything, but I know what happened, I was sitting right there.
I mean, there
It's quite
were
obvious.
2 candidates that put signs out earlier than when our ordinance permitted. I can tell you, Keith made a phone call,
In the
made them
right-
aware of it, and they removed them, my understanding, the same day.
They did not.
However, that was reversed because it was brought to our attention and it was confirmed by Solicitor Buck that there is case law that political signs are freedom of speech and you cannot put time limits on them. So they did put them back up prior to what our sign ordinance said, but they were permitted under case law. We could not stop them from putting them up before what our ordinance states as far as a time frame.
Yeah, I was in there.
But they didn't take them down, they never did, because I checked on them all the time. And they were in the right of way, so their freedom of speech. The sign ordinance has a serious problem that needs to be addressed.
No, I saw signs that were taken down.
At George Phillips's property at Campbell Road and the Susquehanna Trail, they stayed there, they were in the right of way, they stayed there, they didn't come down and go back.
I saw a lot of signs that were taken down. Maybe they all, there were thousands of signs up, but anyway.
Some they
Thank God the election will be over in November.
Yeah, we gotta go through this all again.
No, thanks, Ann. All right, well,
I'll make a motion
to adjourn.
to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.